Hello, welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video, we're going to look at the last deck from Born of the Gods, which is Insatiable Hunger, which is another red-green deck here. So let's start taking a look at that. So we've got the deck list here. We've got 22 creatures, 7 instants, 2 sorceries, 3 enchantments, 26 land. We've got a mana curve off to the side there. So let's start taking a look at the cards in the deck. So the For Your Face rare is Nessian Wild's Ravager. So 4 and double green for a 6/6, and it has a new keyword that is only in Born of the Gods. Tribute. So tribute is, as this creature enters the battlefield, an opponent of your choice can place X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the tribute value, and then all these creatures basically have an effect that, like, if tribute wasn't paid, like if they don't have the counters, then they get some other effect. And so this is what we have in Born of the Gods instead of Monstrosity, because when we go into the next set, Journeys into Nyx, we go back to having Monstrosity. So I don't know why sets do this. They like drop a mechanic for like one set and then bring it back, or just kind of play around with, you know, a different variation of it. Yeah, don't know why this was chosen, but it's tough to say whether or not I like it more than Monstrosity. I mean, that's actually not a tough call. I don't like it more than Monstrosity because it is a keyword that gives your opponent the choice in how your cards work. So Nessian Wild's Ravager, I say, is either going to be a 12/12 for 6 mana, or it's going to be a 6/6 and it comes into play and it fights another creature for 6 mana. I mean, both those are good, but you have no control over it. So I guess in that regard, you're getting a decent effect, like either like a super big creature or like a big creature with like a good effect, but you have no control over what it's going to be. But it's still like, I know, the fact that you can't choose how it turns out is kind of not great. Generally cards that give your opponent choice are not good. The one exception being my beloved Browbeat. Browbeat is my perfect child. Nothing wrong with that card at all. But all those other kind of red cards that have this kind of thing, like, oh, your opponent chooses one of these, and they're typically not that great. Black has the effect as well sometimes, but the black cards that do it usually present two incredibly bad situations for your opponent to choose, and they have to essentially pick their poison. So tribute, I don't know. I think we need to look at more of the cards that have it before we sort of reach a consensus on it. Nessian Wild's Ravager I think is okay, but maybe just a bit boring. Because say for 6 mana it's either a 12/12 but with no other abilities, or it's I say the 6/6 and it comes in and it fights another creature. So that's the thing. I mean, like, I don't know why you would play it to an empty board, but if you did, I don't know, for some reason after a board wipe or something, you could play it to an empty board, and an opponent can say like, all right, well, I'm not going to pay the tribute, so it fights another type creature. There's no creatures. You just have just now a 6/6 for 6 with nothing else. And this thing with tribute, they can just choose whichever, like, because you might want to play this and like have it fight a creature and like do a bit of removal, but your opponent might say like, well, I can deal with a 12/12 that has no trample, so sure, I'll pay tribute. You can just have a big dumb 12/12 that has no other abilities. And yeah, I suppose that's the big downside of tribute, I think. So the other rare is Mistcutter Hydra. So X and a green for a 0/0. Can't be countered. Haste, protection from blue, enters battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. So this is such a big middle finger to anyone playing blue. Yeah, this is okay. It's nice to see a green creature with haste. It's so rarely shows up in other colours. But yeah, I do feel this is like a very niche card to include in this deck because against a deck not playing blue, this is just it's fine. Obviously, it's a very conditional card, and I do think there was better choices than this for the deck. Honestly, it's fine. From what I remember, there's an okay amount of ramp in here, I suppose, so you can get it up to a decent size. But yeah, it's all right. I find this like personally a little boring. I'm not saying it's a bad card. Like I'm sure it's probably like a good sideboard card in constructors at the time. I don't know, but yeah, in this deck, I just feel I don't know, it's a little boring maybe. So then we have 2 Fanatic of Xenagos. So 1 a red and a green for a 3/3 with trample. Has tribute 1. When it enters the battlefield, if tribute wasn't paid, it gets +1/+1, gains haste until end turn. So kind of like a proto riot for like Gruul in the third Ravnica set, where they could either come in with haste or a +1/+1 counter. So this is either 3 mana for a 4/4 with trample, or it's 3 mana for 4/4 haste and trample. Although the only thing the difference is that +1/+1 is either going to be permanent or temporary. So this is, I think, an okay tribute card because it's not as swingy a choice. Like you're basically getting an okay deal either way. It's either it's either going to be a 3/3 with a +1/+1 counter, or it's going to be a 4/4 that's attacking immediately. So this, but it's like the tribute is like such a small bonus. It's almost like just not worth having it on the card. It might as well just be, I don't know. like it's not a great showcase for it because it's such a small effect either way. It almost doesn't matter whether tribute gets paid or not. But it's still a solid card. It's still a good 3-drop. Then we have 2 Nessian Demolock, so 3 and 2 green for a 3/3, has tribute 3. When it enters the battlefield, if tribute wasn't paid, destroy target non-creature permanent. Again, this is a choice where like you might want to play it and destroy land, enchantment, an artifact or whatever, and your opponent knows that, so they're just like, no, you can have the 3 counters, you can just be a 6/6, and I'll keep the thing that I want to keep. And you might have really wanted to destroy that that permanent. So this is really like the downside of tribute. If this was, say, like monstrous, where like, oh, when it becomes monstrous, after paying a cost, it gets counters and you get to do the effect. Then yeah, I think it's a very flavorful mechanic because you either pay tribute to this monster or it gets super angry and like retaliates. It destroys something or whatever. But just because it's flavorful doesn't necessarily mean it's good. So yeah, again, if you pay tribute, it's just a 6/6 with no other abilities, which is just obviously a bit boring. A single Farag Axe Giant, 4 and a red for a 3/3 with tribute 2. When it ends the battlefield, if tribute wasn't paid, does 5 damage to each opponent. So again, if you pay tribute, it's a 5/5 for 5. Sure. If you don't pay tribute, it's a 3/3 that does 5 to everything. I think most people would just pay the tribute on that and just again just let you just have a vanilla 5/5. Rather than take the 5 damage hit, or again they might have something in hand that's like prevents damage for a turn. So I don't know. The point is like your opponent can make a choice on which is the best outcome depending what their board state is. They'd be like, well, I can deal with a 5/5, or like, well, I can deal with a 3/3, and I can tank 5 damage now. That kind of thing. So yeah. I'm really kind of like repeating like my problems with tribute, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from in it. Snake of the Golden Grove, like the Fanatic of Xenagos, I think this is one of the better ones, just because it's like the effect is like so just simple, I guess. So 4 and a green for a 4/4 with tribute 3. When it ends the battlefield, if tribute wasn't paid, you gain 4 life. So it's either a 7/7 for 3 mana, for 5 mana, or it's a 4/4 that gains you 4 life for 5 mana. Like both of those are fine. Obviously, I think most opponents would let you just gain the life rather than you have a 7/7 for for any 5 mana. But again, this is one where I think like the tribute option, like you're not. I guess there could be an option where like you really need the life or something, or you really need a big creature, and again, your opponent has control over what you get. But this one I feel is less. I don't know. It's less of a sort of a Hail Mary than like the Farag Axe Giant. Again, like, oh man, I really need to get like that extra 5 damage. And it's like, well, no, I'm not going to pay tribute. Like, the Demlock, like, I really need to destroy that enchantment. Like, nope, no, I'm just going to pay tribute. So yeah. All right, then, and then we got Thunderbrute. This is the last tribute card, and then I'll stop going on about it. So 4 and double red for a 5/5 trample, tribute 3. When it ends the battlefield, if tribute wasn't paid, it gains haste and then turn. So it's either 6 mana for a 5/5 trample and haste, which is honestly that's pretty scary, or it's 6 mana for an 8/8 with trample. So again, at least this has something that makes paying the tribute like more of a tough choice, I suppose. So yeah, I think that again, this is like I think one of the better ones because like it doesn't feel, I guess, like overcosted. Well, actually, none of them feel overcosted because you get like a fair number of counters if tribute's paid or not. Yeah, so this one's okay. This one's okay, I suppose. And then moving off the tribute creatures. So we've got 2 Voyaging Satyrs, 1 and a green for a 1/2. You can tap to untap target land. So yeah, this just acts as a little bit of ramp. A single Satyr Piper who has shown up in quite a lot of decks. I wasn't actually expecting this to see this so much. But yeah, 2 and a green for a 2/1. It has like a really expensive ability to give a lure effect. 2 Reckless Revelers, just 1 and a red for a 2/1. You can pay 1 red and sacrifice it to destroy an artifact. Yep, sure, just a little bit of utility there. A single Setessan Starbreaker. This is a really disappointing card because it's like the art for it is so good, right? I mean, that art is absolutely gorgeous, and I don't normally talk about art, but I really need to point out on this one because I think that is tremendously good art, and it's on a 4-mana 2/1, and when it ends the battlefield, you may destroy an aura. So it's expensive, it's weak, and it has like quite a small effect as well, which is such a shame because like that art deserves to be on like I don't know, like a mythic legendary creature in some way. Such a shame, this card. But yeah, that art is fantastic. A single Opaline Unicorn, 3 mana for a 1/2. You tap to get 1 mana of any color. So yep, this is fine. Just a little bit of extra ramp, I suppose, a little bit of color fixing. It's Born of the Gods deck, so we've got to have a bunch of vanilla creatures. So 2 Cyclops, a 1-eyed pass, just 2 and 2 red for a 5/2. A single Nessian Courser, 2 and a green for a 3/3. And 2 Swordwise Centaur, just 2 green for a 3/2. Really feels redundant to have Nessian Courser and Swordwise Centaur. Like, they are so similar. Yeah, really not. And also, the other thing about Swordwise Centaur as well, like in M14, we just had Colonian Tusker, which was 2 green mana for a 3/3. But that was uncommon, to be fair. So, all right. But yeah, you know what? It feels so redundant to have like 2 vanilla centaurs in set. Like, I don't know. And we had the Fury's Band Trompers as well, something like that. But they're like a 3/7. They're like a lot more expensive. So I really wish, I don't know, like the Swordwise Centaur had been in set like something else. Like it had just been like a big dumb I don't know, like just a beast or something, like just a big vanilla beast or something. Yeah, it just feels so redundant having these two. But at least, it's one's a 2-drop, the other's a 3-drop, I suppose, and it's alright. I mean, it's like 2 mana for a 3/2 is still okay with no ability or drawback. It's fine, but I am not keen on how many vanilla creatures are in these Theros decks. A single Fall of the Hammer, moving on to non-creature spells. So 1 and a red instant, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to another target creature. You got some really big boys in this deck, so this is always going to, I think, hit for quite a bit of damage. So yeah, this is a good inclusion. A couple of lightning strikes, nice early burn spell. Nice and cheap. Just 2 mana, do 3 damage to any target, which is really solid. And a single Searing Blood. This is like quite an interesting card, I think. So double red, does 2 damage to target creature when that creature dies this turn. I love it says when and not if. It is like no, when it dies. It does 3 damage to the creature's controller. So this is quite nice, like kill an X2 or something that maybe is already taking damage in combat or something. And then spill over 3 damage onto the controller as well. So it does a lot, I think, for just 2 red mana. I mean, it is essentially, looking at it, is essentially shock and like lightning bolt with limited targeting stapled together, I suppose. So maybe when I look at it that way, not too exciting. But it's okay. The fact it's it can do like 5 damage split across a creature and a player is all right. Yeah, I think it's okay. Single Pinnacle of Rage, 4 and double red for a sorcery, does 3 damage to each of 2 type creatures and or players. Yeah, fine, just expensive, I think. Like, just 6 mana for this effect is like... I mean, yeah, it's a potential 2 for 1, but it is so expensive. But, yeah, it's fine. It's Theros block removal. Take what we get. A single messenger speed, 1 red mana aura goes on a creature, enchanted creature gets trample and haste. This is, I feel like doing quite a lot actually for 1 red mana. Really glad it does something other than just give haste. That would make me very sad. So yeah, it giving trample is good because you got like, I say quite a lot of big creatures in the deck who actually don't get trample. So this could be, I know, maybe a nice play. You play the Nessian Wilds Ravager, they pay tribute, so it's just, aha, you don't get to fight my creature. You're just stuck with a 12/12, and then you drop this, and then you swing with your 12/12 hasty trampler. Just like, well, you should have paid the tribute. So actually, it would have been nice to have more than one of these. Actually, I think to that kind of like gotcha moment, I suppose. Single Destructive Revelry. This is essentially naturalize stuck with shock. 1 red and 1 green instant, destroy an artifact or enchantment, and does 2 damage to opponent's controller. So yeah, it's fine. Just a bit of utility with an extra bit of burn. That's fine. A single Mischief and Mayhem, so 4 and a green, up to 2 target creatures, each get +4/+4 to turn. So this is very, very expensive at 5 mana and at sorcery speed, which is not ideal for a pump spell. Excuse me. And like +4/+4 is okay, but yeah, the fact it's so expensive and sorcery speed and it's uncommon as well, which is like really bad. Like this could have been instant and it would have been fine. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this card just because it is so expensive and kind of clunky to use. So yeah, not a big fan. 2 Mortal's Resolve, 1 and a green to give a creature +1/+1 and indestructible in turn. This is a good little trick. Giving indestructible instant speed is pretty cheeky, so I like that. And then 2 Ordeal of Nylea, 1 and a green. Aura goes on a creature whenever it attacks. You put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then if it has 3 or more counters on it, you sacrifice Ordeal of Nylea. When you sacrifice the Ordeal, you set your library off to 2 basic land cards, put them on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. So this can interact with the tribute cards, like even if you draw it like late game, because your stuff could have +1/+1 counters on it from tribute being paid. You slap the Ordeal of Nylea on it, and then you swing. You get the counter, and then you've probably got enough counters on it already to immediately pop it and get the land search. So yeah, that could be okay, I suppose. And early on as well, it's I think pretty good, even on like the some of the cheap little satyrs. I think it's an okay pick. Oh, and then just 14 forests and 12 mountains. So yeah, there we go. So what could have been? So let's maybe talk about the alternate rare first of all. So Mistcutter Hydra, I think maybe Oracle of Bones could have worked here. So it's 2 and 2 red for 3/1 with haste and tribute 2. So it's either a 3/1 haste or a 5/3 haste. If it ends the battlefield, if tribute wasn't paid, you may cast a instant or sorcery card from your hand without paying its mana cost. I lost a game at the pre-release when I went to Born of the Gods to this card because it came down. It was like really late in the game. Opponent and I were both on really low life totals. They played this, and I had a really tough choice on the tribute choice because it was either they were either going to swing at me with a 5/3 haste, or they were swinging with a 3/1 haste, and like I was just going to have to essentially roll the dice on like if they had an instant or sorcery in their hand, and I chose poorly. I did not pay tribute, and I think they did like like some sort of burn spell, and then swung with everything, and that was enough to take me down to exactly 0. So yeah, Oracle of Bones I think is pretty good, and you've actually got like some fairly decent-ish instant sorcery cards in this deck anyway that you could would benefit getting an early casting, like the Pinnacle of Rage. Like dropping this and then they don't pay tribute and then you pay Pinnacle of Rage for free would be pretty fun, I think. Alternatively, Hunter's Prowess, so 4 and a green sorcery. So it is like a sorcery speed pump spell, which is not wonderful. But until end turn, target creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample. I don't mind actually giving trample if it's at sorcery speed, because at least then you're not throwing a lot of eggs into baskets and something that can be just chumped by a 1/1. At least it gives trample. So +3/+3 and trample, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you draw that many cards. So this would be a nice way, I think, of just like reloading your hand, and like it's a decent buff spell. That could have been in here maybe instead of the Hydra. And then another thing I think we could have had is Archetype of Aggression. So 1 and double red for 3/2, which is fairly decent cost for a red creature at the time. Gives all your creatures trample and takes away trample from all your opponent's creatures, and they can't gain trample in any way. So that would have been really fun in this deck. Again, like I was saying, you've got like quite a few creatures in the deck who can get pretty big but don't have trample themselves. So this I think would have been really helpful, and also it's a nice cheap early drop as well. Maybe instead of the what was it, the Nessian Courser, or like the vanilla Cyclops, but they're common and this is uncommon. But you could have some shuffling around there, I suppose. But yeah, that was just my thoughts on what could have been. So overall, I think this one's okay, just because it is very straightforward. It's still just like red green fatties, right, which is fine. I don't think it's as good as the red-green monstrosity deck that was in Theros. I think that was, I think this is basically like a worse version of it, just because tribute is inherently like, I think, just a worse keyword. But I think out of all the Born the Gods decks, which have honestly been quite disappointing to look at, I think it's this one and the red-white heroic deck have stood out to me, because like they just seem like the most sort of like straightforward, simple. I think they'd play okay out of the pack, whereas I think the other three I've looked at have kind of been a bit, not so great in my opinion. But yeah, I think this one's okay. But like I said, I do think the previous set, the Theros red green deck with the monstrosity cards, I think is a lot better, or maybe not a lot better, but definitely better. I think, because I think that tribute is such a not flawed mechanic. Essentially, just I don't know, just leads to yeah, you don't get to decide how your cards work ultimately, which is the big downside. But that's just my thoughts on the deck after looking at it. If you got any thoughts or stories or comments, opinions about the deck or any of the cards in it, please stick a comment below. I always like reading people's comments. But we are now done with Born of the Gods, which is grateful actually, because this was actually quite a disappointing set to look at. I remember it being better, but on retrospect, like these decks have not been too wonderful. But we're going to move on now, and we're going to do Journey into Nyx, which is the last set from Theros block. So yeah, we'll start that next time. But until then, thanks for watching and listening, and have a great day.